The following program is video supplemental instruction. VSI is brought to you by the Teaching Center, UF's Learning Support Center, www.teachingcenter.ufl.edu.
For number 9, we're given a problem to evaluate, and we have a lot of big numbers and decimals here, and this kind of looks overwhelming at first. These problems are set up in such a way that you don't need a calculator, and it's really not that difficult to figure out. You just need to rearrange it. So I'm going to write the problem out and take note of a few particular things here. So we have 811, and instead of the multiplication signs, I'm just going to write them in parentheses. Times 0.235 minus 236 times 0.46 plus, okay, so in this term here, we have 1189 times 0.235. That's the same number that we had over here. And minus 764 times 0.46. 0.46 is the same number we had here. So we can group these together by factoring out the common element. So out of these two, we can factor out a 0.235. What do we have left? We have 811 here plus 1189 there. Out of these two, we have a 0.46 in common, and they're both negative. So we can factor out a negative 0.46 and put in our leftover numbers there, which would be 236. Important to note that's a plus 764 because we already factored out the negative sign. So you can see if you were to distribute these, you would get this back out. So this is definitely correct. But in doing this is advantageous because now we can just do 2 multiplications instead of having to do 4. And it turns out they're going to be much easier to do. Because 811 and 1189 is exactly 2000. And 236 plus 764 is exactly 1000. Now these are simple to do because if you're doing things by powers of 10, all you have to do is move decimals. So let's forget that this is 2000. Let's just pretend it was 1000 and then multiply by 2 afterwards. If it was 1000, we would move the decimal place 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So we have 235 times the leftover 2. And over here, we just are multiplying by 1000, so we move it 1, 2, 3 spaces, and we would have 460. Finally, we just need to multiply this by 2. 235 times 2 would give you 470. So we have 470 minus 460, which is 10. 10 is then answer choice B. So if you see a long list of addition and subtraction of products of decimals and big numbers, it's a problem that's meant to get you thinking that you need to group things first, and they're usually going to be easier that way. Just make sure that when you factor things out, especially like with this negative sign, make sure you do that correctly. If you factor out the negative sign, you don't need to write it again there in the parentheses.
The Teaching Center, UF's Learning Support Center, www.teachingcenter.ufl.edu.